Yes, another top. This time not a top 5, but a top 10. And this one is a battle between my top 10 and Frank's top 10. Now, let's start off with my number 10. This pick might be a little bit controversial. We haven't played it tons, but I already was a fan of Black Rose Wars. I really believe Rebirth feels more streamlined and the rules are somewhat clearer. I love the mechanic of building your deck with magic cards and battling the other players. Each placing cards in a certain order, trying to predict when you need to use them. Having placed them wrongly can cost you dearly, but it might also scare the other players into thinking you still have trap cards to be played. I like the pacing of the game. You're always battling against your friends and the game. To win, you need to take the top spot and you need to be fast because the Black Rose is being fed by the choices of your opponents. At number 9, we will find 7 Wonders Duel. It isn't like its big brother. You can only play it with 2 players, but it has the same core. You can score a military or science victory. If neither player is able to do so, it's a civic victory via victory points. How can it be nothing like its big brother while it uses the same core? Well, 7 Wonders Duel is quick, it's cutthroat, it has depth and it has tons of replayability. It has everything to do with it being just 2 players. Is it a filler? No. Is it a full-fledged board game? No. It is somewhere in between. That is the only reason why it only scores 9th. It only hits the table when I'm playing with 2 players, and that is rare. So at number 8 we have Carnegie. I find Carnegie a game that has several features of other games while still being unique in its own way. The network building can be seen in Power Grid and the tile system in Factory Manager. But the gift system and the track that tells you something about the transport of certain regions are new, as is the research track in your player board. Placing meeples on the board is nothing new, but returning them to the board is. The choice between passive income and high one-time income is always a fun puzzle to make. The action selection mechanic, where you decide for all players what the action this round is going to be, is a blast. You can see everyone hoping for something, but it's up to you to choose. Do you choose something that is a B for you and a D for everyone else? Or are you going for your own A+ and giving one player a C and the other also an A+ turn? These are difficult choices. If not to think of how you are going to connect your cities, but did you invest in enough resources to actually place them? Carnegie is everything and yet it doesn't feel cluttered or too much of everything. It is a fun game every time. At number 7 we will find ISS Vanguard. New in my list is ISS Vanguard. We have taken it upon ourselves to start traveling to the endless void of space. I already had some experience playing ISS for a rules video, but this year we started to play the campaign. I was already sold, but we recently had a couple of missions in what we thought, what the F is this? How cool! Yes, the basics of ISS are skill checks, and this mechanic is usually something we tend to dislike. But ISS makes the skill checks feel different. I believe it is because of the cards you can use for mitigation and the assists of the other players. The constant drip fed of story is great. No grinding battles for just 1 minute of story, but a steady stream of information and choices you need to make to explore the world and keep your crew and ship alive. The app works great, though I think there is some room for improvement. We believe it glitched somewhere in our gameplay and it doesn't keep track of the planets we visited. But hey, you should try it anyway. At number 6 we have Castles of Burgundy. There used to be a time where we didn't give this game one single look. It was dead to us. Then Awakened Realms launched their GameFound campaign, and boy, Frank fell for it. It looked stunning and it wasn't cheap. Castles of Burgundy is just like my #1 board game, very elegant. It has smooth gameplay, and with the different setup tiles it has tons and tons of replayability. Sure, it's a dice chucking game, but it doesn't feel like it. You have tons of options to mitigate a bad roll, and even if it was a bad roll, you can always make a play. We have such a regret we judged this book by its cover. I can highly recommend this plain, not sexy version. Sure, it doesn't have the same look and feel as the AW version, but it gets you to where you want to go. Having a great board game experience with a game that doesn't take hours to complete and yet feel competitive. At number 5 we have Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy. This is the only 4X game on my list, but boy, it sure does earn its spot on this list. It has a big setup, but in this case I would say it is the build-up of the tension to come. The tech development through this game is great. The more so because of some tech only one player can get thanks to the exploring and expanding on the map. Are you building fast and nimble glass cannons or slow sponges with giant cannons? It is all up to you. This co-op and backstabbing mechanic also is a great feature. Keeping your friends close, but your enemies closer is a nice proverb to keep in mind while playing Eclipse. The option to play your race as the basic one or the asymmetrical is also great. I like the containers per race where all the components are stored in. I think Eclipse bears 4X to its core and manages to stay clear of the slugfest other 4X games tend to evolve in during the game night. At number 4 we find Blood Rage. Listen, games aren't made the way they used to make them, right? Oh my god, I sound like an old man. We made a video about Frank and me battling it out. This game has everything. Cutthroat fights and cheesy strats. Nothing is as it seems. Though there definitely isn't a trader co-op mechanic in this game, it sure feels like it. You're never sure who to trust. Why trust? This isn't a game of alliances, right? No, that is correct. But even in battle, you're not sure what the end game of your opponent is. Does he want to lose this fight? Does he want to try and draw in more participants? What card is he going to use? Blood Rage is a mind game. It is a solid game in our group and it's a guaranteed fun evening. The game also isn't that long, and with the expansion you can play it with up to 5 players. And one final topping, no strat is a guaranteed win, nothing is OP. Blood Rage is balanced. So, on to number 3, Brass Birmingham. Well, Brass doesn't need much explanation from me. There are tons of videos out there that already tell you why this is such a great game. One of the best things of Brass is that the game is cut up into 2 phases. The first, the canal phase, and later the train phase. If you don't score high in the first phase, you sort of have a second chance. The more you invest, the bigger the chance that you'll be placed in the back of the initiative track. It is a great mechanic that keeps you from snowballing. The only downside, I believe, to this game is the trade mechanic with beer. Sometimes we don't use it correctly and it's somewhat convoluted. So at number 2 we find Hegemony. Well, Hegemony probably isn't a game for all players. You need to really take your time to learn the rules. Each faction has different mechanics, different cards and different earnings. Yet you are depending on the other players. You must work together to win. You just need to know when you need to rework your alignments. Sometimes you want to align with the government, but maybe you want to align with the workers at another time. This constant tug of war of who gets what in return of what is beautifully done. It takes some time to set up and to know your role and the roles of the other players. Once you know how to play, it is very satisfying and it's a blast every time. At number 1 we find a newcomer, Skyrise. this game just has pure elegance. It is so easy to teach. It is easy to set up. Its mechanics are easy and yet feel as if it isn't. Every game is roughly the same, though it isn't. I love the simple mechanic of bidding against each other by placing your buildings. If no one outbids you, you have placed a building. But did you actually want to place a building there? Or was that just to screw someone over? It is a constant mind game. Skyrise blew our minds, and that is why it scores the top 1 spot. Now, if you find this top 10 better than Frank's top, please comment, like or subscribe. And of course, watch Frank's video right here after you did all that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.